Okay, good afternoon. No, it is still the morning. Good morning. Friday, October the 18th. I hope you are all doing well. I am looking outside and thinking about all the leaves that I have to rake this weekend. So part of my afternoon errands will be uh, getting some bags. So that brings me to the first thing I want to talk about for 15-minute Fridays. I got a few things. One, green cart collection is changing. So it'll be going um, to bi-weekly, so rather than weekly. So green cart collection schedules are changing. I am a big fan of the waste and recycling app that the city of Calgary has. It lets you know about this. It gives you tips and tricks. Um, I am, even though garbage days now doesn't change. I just love it. I love the app. I love the app. I always am looking at it it's always, I can just never remember what week the black bin is. And so then I don't ever want to miss it. So that's that. So green cart changes coming soon, letting you know about that. I don't have the actual date because I forgot to read the memo, but my staff did and then reminded me it's a thing I needed to tell you today. But we will be posting about it across socials too, so that you know that it's coming. So next, I want to talk about, because winter is coming, a couple things. So there was a report that came through Infrastructure and Planning Committee around the roads conditions. So I want to talk about that a little bit. We've talked about it before here, but we've talked about it before. But I want to talk about it again because I want to talk about the budget implications and what it's likely going to mean, or what it could mean. So these are important conversations. And then winter maintenance policy. So for snow claims, I'm just checking my list. Also, green card collection. I'm just going to go back a little bit. Green card collection first week of November. It used to be the last week of October. When I first got elected, someone asked me, actually a couple of people asked me, can we get it after Halloween because of pumpkins? And I was like, yes, we can. So this is why. So we asked for it to start a little bit, the going back to bi-weekly, we asked for it to start a little bit later. So great news. Small things, did it. Thank you. You asked, we did it. Okay, let's talk about winter roads. So yeah, the pavement quality in many places in Calgary is not good. So why? When there were budget cuts starting 10 years ago, one of those big budget cuts was to the paving budget. So paving is operating, that is tax supported. So when taxes did not keep up with population plus inflation, and that roads budget stayed flat, we could do less work. And when you then also have a city that is expanding and growing and you have more roads, which the city has seen massive growth, and not just in the last 10 years, but over the 10, 20 years before that, there's just more roads to do. And so we just haven't been able to keep up. And so this is one of the reasons why tax increases at population plus inflation is really important, because that allows budgets like paving to experience inflationary growth year over year to keep up with the maintenance of roads. So now we are in a deficit where, because that has stayed flat and was cut at one point, so it was, I think it was at 60 and it went down to 40 and then it stayed at 40, but we've seen significant population plus inflation growth because it costs more. It just costs more to fill up with gas. It costs more for the materials. The labor costs more. So we're essentially able to do less with that same amount of money. Here comes the dog. We're in a deficit. So the gap identified now to get back to the standard that we would want is now $112 million a year. We're contributing 40. So that is a massive gap. That's almost $80 million. So let's say it's 110 minus 40. So let's say it's $70 million. If we wanted to do that, one, we would probably need to spend capital as well to get more equipment, because we just wouldn't have enough equipment at this point. Two, $70 million is probably a 3% tax increase over the next couple of years. Just on paving, 3% tax increase. So if we're not going to increase taxes to do that, then we are going to have to find reserve money. So reserve, and So probably out of the fiscal stability reserve. So then when we can only deplete our reserves so much. So we need to have healthy reserves. And so my guess is we'll probably bridge the gap with some from fiscal stability reserve. We probably won't do $70 million. We'll probably do 30, maybe, I don't know. Budget deliberation. These are the questions between now and November that a lot of us are going to be asking. But it really, really stresses the importance and begs the point of why tax cuts or no tax increases are totally unrealistic. Because this is just one example. Roads are just one example. When the other examples would be maintenance infrastructure, so maintenance of like pools and rec centers is a big one. I would say parks maintenance. So even like urban forestry, pathway maintenance, sidewalk repairs. So if you are seeing cracked sidewalks that aren't getting repaired, so sidewalk repairs. So these are all things that exist within that operating. And if you're seeing aging and like sagging infrastructure, a lot of that is because we have not been investing the operating dollars into that due to a number of cuts. So do we want? No one wants to raise your taxes. Like, let's be honest, no one wants to. That's never a good news story, and no one ever likes it. But it is really, it's a really important narrative to say, like, why we look at markers like population plus inflation to deliver on services, and why those increases are needed. And it's so that our roads don't suck, because $40 million 10 years ago is not the same as $40 million now. We all know that. It's like the price of groceries. What you could buy for $40, 10 years ago is like, you could barely buy anything for $40 now. I just got groceries the other day. It was like astronomical. I have 2 girls, and I am just grateful that I'm not buying for boys, even though they eat a lot. Parents of boys, teenage boys. Oh my goodness. And sometimes those dads eat a lot too. So I'll say that. Now, the good news, some of the council investments we have made through budget increases are winter maintenance. So we've got a new winter maintenance policy, and we have some great things that are coming out of that. One of it was a big investment into smaller equipment to get to smaller places, sidewalks, crosswalks, mobility lanes, and to get to those pieces faster, so that people who are at bus stops, who are walking to and from school, walking to and from work, we have smaller, more responsive equipment that can get to those places faster, which is allowing us to clear snow faster in certain areas of the city. So like, that is a great council investment that we have made, again, through budget, in order to do that. And so we now have a new winter maintenance policy, which allows for us to do snow clearing quicker. It's something that Calgarians talk about very, very often. We continue to review it when Priority 1 and Priority 2 roads get done. Sometimes we hear from people they don't want their roads done as quickly. That's not often the case, but from time to time we hear people saying like, my road could get cleared a little less. But generally people are wanting to be free and clear of snow. This is my plug that if you haven't booked your appointment to get your winter tires put on, do that. I've got mine coming up next Monday. So that's a little bit about snow and why it's really important as we're evaluating the budget, that these are the decisions that we are making around budget, that we are actually hearing and responsive to Calgarians. So when Calgarians are telling us the roads are bad, fix the roads, we're saying, yeah, sure, we can do it. Here's the cost. Here's the cost of it. And so there is always a cost. There is always a cost to doing more. And there is always a cost to cuts. And that cost to cuts always comes down the road. We are heading into an election season. This is an election budget. So you will see a lot of proposed cuts that come. You'll probably have some people who are talking about bare basics budgets. But I always remind people that like, when you cut budgets, it comes back in the future. So we have had budgets that have cut like prevention. Now we have social disorder. So like, this is the push-pull that we're always existing in when you make investments, when you notice them. So yeah, when they cut roads budgets 10 years ago, no one noticed then. Everybody's noticing now. And then this council is like, well, here's the cost of it. And then everyone's like, don't raise my taxes. And I'm just like, but your roads. So this is the pickle. This is the conundrum we're in. So always Okay, I want to talk about a couple other things coming up. Next week is Org Day at Council. What is Org Day? It's a bit of a fun lottery. I actually love Org Day. So council sits on various boards, commissions, and committees external to the city. So we have our internal committees, so infrastructure and planning, uh, community development, intergovernmental affairs, audit, and executive committee. So those are kind of our 5 standing policy committees. Oh, nominations committee is another one. So that's the committee that reviews public applications to sit on citizen-led committees. And so we have that coming up. And then we also sit on external. So we sit on Calgary Convention Center, Stampede, Calgary Economic Development, Library, Calgary Arts Development, Attainable Homes, Calgary Housing Company, Silvera for Seniors. So some of our civic partners or our wholly owned subsidiaries, CMLC, we sit on those boards as a council. So we get appointed to those boards. And so some are directly linked to the city, so our wholly owned subs. Some are external, so things like Stampede Board. And so we, every year, we self-organize and appoint each other to these boards, commissions, and committees. And so I have been sitting on a number of committees, and some I will ask to sit on again, and some I will ask to step off of. So I have been on Calgary Housing Company and the Library Board for the last 3 years. I'm not letting my name stand for reappointment there. I think it's really important that someone else on council has an opportunity to be there, to understand what those organizations are doing, and to lend their support and knowledge and expertise as well. So important to have a bit of a shuffle there. I will say those boards have been so lovely. We have some amazing citizens who are stewarding those organizations and doing really, really great work. There was just an announcement out of Calgary Housing Company. You'll see that they secured funding from the federal government and from the city for some capital repairs for existing homes. It's really important to keep people in existing homes, that we don't lose existing housing stock. Super important. Notably absent, provincial government. And I'm always going to say that as much as the provincial government is talking about housing and the need for housing, when it comes to it, they are not stepping up to the plate. Library Board. I'll just plug for the library. They have done amazing work. For those who are avid library users, I am the person who returns one book and leaves with 3. I read every single night. Mostly fiction. I do a lot of nonfiction reading of the day, but I'm a big fiction reader. I did my degree in English in university, so it's like a habit that I just can't get rid of. But a big plug for the work that they've done. So behind the scenes with all the cybersecurity is actually something that we've been discussing at length as a board and needing to pay attention to. And as a result of those investments that the board was making and giving strategic direction, the damage of what could have been done wasn't done. So it was stopped. So that's a really good thing. And I'm not saying that's just the board. That's actually just the strength of the organization. But the board recognizing and encouraging that investment. The library is hoping to be back up and running normal business as soon as they can, but they are doing their due diligence to double check that everything is safe and secure and that there's no further breaches. And so basically the breach was stopped. So just contextually, the breach was stopped. But they're just securing to make sure that any data that is held with the library is safe for both staff and for library patrons. So just a huge shout out to the library, the executive that is there right now, all the staff who are managing it. We know how critically important the library is as a gathering space, as a free gathering space. So thank you to our library folk who are doing great work over there. Those were the ones. So other ones that I'm hoping to stay on, so Prairie Economic Gateway, so that's the stewardship of the major shipping and transportation logistics hub on the east side of the city centered around rail. So that's a partnership with Rocky View County. Family Community Support Services Association, so this is preventative care. This is preventative funding for municipalities and regions across the province. And so I sit on the forum locally, and then I talk, and then I go and elevate and have the conversation at the provincial level with my colleagues across the provincial level. And so this is where we are raising advocacy and awareness of what the program does, how they are serving Albertans, and how we need the province to step up because it is a partially funded provincial initiative. And I've talked about it at length on 15-Minute Fridays before. You can go back and watch some of those. I also want to I would also like to sit on Alberta municipalities this year. So, Alberta municipalities, again, it's an organization that works with all municipalities across the province to advocate for municipal issues writ large. I have been sitting on a committee for the last 2 years, and so now wanting to sit on the board, and that will just elevate it that one other level. So that's something new that I would take on. I continue to be on Stampede board. I'm just trying to think what else I've been doing. Yeah, that's kind of like the high level of it. I think I have a couple others that are small, that don't meet quite as often. But I see, at least on Facebook, Phil's dropped the link, and so we'll update that and edit that. And then I sit on the majority of actually our standing policy committee. So I sit on the only one I don't actually sit on. Well, no, I don't sit on audit, and I don't sit on infrastructure and planning committee. I can go to those, but I sit on executive committee, intergovernmental affairs, community development, nomination. So those are the four other committees that I sit on. And so that's really good. So that's a little bit anyway. So you can watch it. You can hear us all put our pitches forward for the things that we want to. We're doing it in public this year. It's never been public. We normally do it behind closed doors. Pros and cons both ways. Sometimes when you do it behind closed doors, you can bring context and light to the different boards and committees that you're sitting on to make people aware of some of both the opportunities and challenges are there. And then it sort of protects the interests of those boards. Doing it in public, we don't get that opportunity, and so we're not able to sort of have any sensitive conversations about those committees. So which exist. There are dynamics in politics and funding and lots of things at play, and so sometimes finding the right person and the right fit to sit on those committees is really important, because sometimes they may need certain governance oversight, they might need more financial oversight or more audit oversight, and so being able to sort of tease out those nuances to get the right person on the board is really important. I worry that we're going to risk not having that opportunity, doing it all in open. But you can also get to see what people are interested in. So there's that side of it too. So I guess we will see what that looks like. I am at my 15 minutes. I am at 17 minutes. I hope you all have a lovely weekend. It's great out there. Happy early Halloween candy eating. I am a big fan of Reese's Pieces, the ugliest candies in the world, but the best flavor. Just going to say it. And if you have a favorite Halloween candy, you can let me know. Happy to hear what it is. Talk to you all. Bye.